You can be in a room full of people who are genuinely happy to see you and still feel that nobody really knows what is happening in your life. That is not ingratitude, and it is not a complaint about them. There is a particular loneliness that can happen inside a likable life. Being liked and being known are different kinds of connection. Being liked means people respond warmly when you arrive. They include you, smile at you, remember your name, and are pleased that you came. Being known is something different. It means that the real version of your life has somewhere to appear, not the polished update, not the cheerful summary. The real circumstances, the concern you keep editing out, the hope that feels a little too tender to say casually, the change in your life that people mention but do not quite understand. After 50, this distinction can become painfully clear. You may have spent decades becoming easy to be around. You know how to keep a conversation pleasant. You know how to ask about other people. You know how to sound fine, and because of that, people may genuinely like you. But likability does not automatically create recognition. Warmth does not automatically create understanding. You can be socially successful and still privately hidden. That is the gap, not a failure of friendship, not a failure of character, and not proof that other people do not care. It is a structural gap between the version of you that is easy to receive and the version of you that needs to be known. Most of us learn likability before we learn intimacy. Likability has social rewards. It keeps groups smooth. It helps at work, in families, in clubs, in neighborhoods, and in all the small places where adults have to cooperate without making things difficult. There is nothing wrong with likability. A social life with no warmth would be a cold thing, but likability can become a hiding place when it is the only social skill we practice. It can teach us to offer the version of ourselves that travels well. The version that says, I am keeping busy, the version that says, it is all fine, the version that knows how to make people comfortable before anyone has to ask a second question. For a while that may work, it may even be necessary, but later life has a way of changing the self faster than the social world updates its picture of you. Retirement changes the week, divorce changes the story people think they know, the empty nest changes the role you occupied for years. Bereavement, illness, relocation, redundancy, caregiving, or a quieter season can all change what is true inside your life. And yet people may keep responding to the old public version. The capable one or the cheerful one, the organized one, the reliable one or the funny one, the one who never seems to need much. That is how someone can be liked by many people and still feel unknown by almost everyone. The question is not whether people are kind, they may be. The question is whether any relationship has the conditions for more of you to become present. The research helps make this distinction sharper. In loneliness research, John Cacioppo and Louise Hawkley described loneliness as perceived social isolation, not simply being physically alone. That matters here because the room can be full, the calendar can have things in it. The problem may not be absence. You have contact but not recognition. You have warmth but not much room for the fuller truth. Research on older adults points in the same direction. In 2025, Jerry Nolan and colleagues studied 474 Swedish adults aged 77 and above. Their work suggests that relationship quality matters more for connection than relationship quantity. The important point here is social, not medical. A busier social life is not always the same as a more known life. More contact can help, but contact alone does not guarantee closeness, support, or recognition. The clearest finding comes from Juliana Schroeder and Ayelet Fischbach. In research published in 2024, Juliana Schroeder and Ayelet Fischbach studied 2,036 people across 7 studies. They found that relationship satisfaction depended more on feeling known by the other person than on feeling that you knew them. In other words, one of the central ingredients in a satisfying relationship is not only, I understand them. It is, someone here understands me. That sentence changes the episode because many thoughtful adults are very good at knowing other people. They remember details. They ask questions. They make space. But they may rarely experience the reverse. They may know everyone else better than anyone knows them. Being known is not the same as being admired. It is not the same as being useful. It is not even the same as being loved in the abstract. This is where responsiveness matters. Race and Shaver described intimacy as an interpersonal process in 1988, and Laurenceau, Barrett, and Pietro Monaco tested related ideas in 1998. They are supporting context here. The useful mechanism is this. Disclosure alone, is not the whole process. In 2023, Bezanur Arakandink and Shelley Gable described perceived responsiveness as the discloser's belief that the other person understood their thoughts, goals, and needs, validated their position, and cared for their well-being. That is why just open up more is incomplete advice. You can disclose and still not feel known if the response does not carry understanding. You can reveal a fact and receive politeness. You can say something real and watch the conversation hurry back to safer ground. You can be brave and still not be met. Larson and Chastain's 1990 work on self-concealment adds another caution. Their research suggests that consistently hiding the real situation behind a socially acceptable presentation can carry its own quiet cost. That is a correlation, not a simple cause. It is not a diagnosis, but it does name something many people recognize. The likable version can become tiring when it has to do all the social work alone. Robert is 57 and people still enjoy him. At the pub quiz, someone saves him a chair. At the golf club, they ask whether he has been getting out much. On the volunteer committee, they are relieved when he agrees to help. He is still warmly recognized, still competent, good company, and useful. But something has shifted since retirement. The week has blank spaces he did not expect. He misses being needed before 9 in the morning. He misses being asked for decisions that mattered. He does not say that at the quiz. He says he is keeping busy. Everyone accepts the sentence because it sounds like Robert. So they like him for a version of himself that still works in public, while the uncertain version remains unintroduced. Carol is 54, and people are kind to her too. After the divorce or after the empty nest, they include her. They say she is doing brilliantly. They tell her she looks well. At dinner, she can tell the story neatly. She knows which parts make people comfortable. She can say the house is quieter now. She can say she is getting used to it. She can even make a joke that lets everyone relax. Then she comes home and realizes that nobody has met the version still trying to understand what life is becoming. Nobody did anything cruel and nobody excluded her. They were warm to the version she knew how to offer. Robert and Carol are not disliked. They are not socially invisible. They are liked for a version of themselves that is no longer complete. That is the private moment worth naming. The pain is not that nobody smiles. The pain is that the smile lands on the surface, while the real situation remains unrecognized underneath. So what creates the conditions for being known? Not a dramatic confession, not a sudden decision to tell everyone everything. There are 3 conditions to watch for. The first is permission. A context has to allow more of the self to appear. Some settings do not. That does not make them bad. It only means they may not be the place where the fuller truth belongs. Other settings have more room. A regular walk, a quiet cup of tea after the group, a repeated conversation with someone who does not rush away, a friendship where the second question sometimes appears. The second condition is a small disclosure with real context. Not performance, not the neat version, not the whole story, just one sentence that lets the other person see more accurately. For Robert, it might be, I thought I would love the freedom, but some mornings I miss being expected somewhere. For Carol, it might be, people keep saying I am doing well, and I suppose I am, but I am still working out who I am in this new version of life. Those sentences are not speeches. They are doors left slightly open. The third condition is the response. Does the other person understand what you are saying? Do they validate the reality of it, even if they have not lived it? Do they show care, not by fixing it, but by letting the real sentence stay in the room? A responsive answer might be simple. That makes sense. I had not realized that was the hard part. Do you miss the structure or the people? I am glad you said that. These are small responses, but they matter. They tell the person who disclosed that the relationship did not punish the fuller truth. And that is why being known is not only about finding better people. Sometimes it is about noticing which contexts have permission, which disclosures carry real context, and which responses show that the relationship can hold more. If the response is flat, you do not have to condemn the person. You simply have information. Maybe this relationship is kind but light. Maybe this person is not ready, or not the right person, or not the right person yet. If the response has understanding, validation, and care, you have something else. You have evidence. You have a place where more of you may be able to appear again. There is a quiet dignity in this distinction. Likability asks, can I be received pleasantly? Being known asks, can the truth of my life be received without being reduced? Those are different questions. They require different conditions. Likability often rewards smoothness. Likability can be maintained by editing. Being known asks for accuracy. Likability can happen quickly. Being known usually develops through repeated moments where the real person appears and the relationship does not turn away. This is why the goal is not to become less likable. It is not to become blunt, confessional, or difficult. The goal is to stop mistaking likability for the whole of connection. Warmth is a beginning. Inclusion is a beginning. Pleasant contact is a beginning. Being known is not the reward for becoming more impressive. It is what happens when the real version of your life is allowed into the room and is not quietly sent back out. That is a hopeful thought because it means the answer is not to perform better. It is not to become fascinating enough that people finally pay attention. It is to create and recognize the conditions where more of you can be present. One honest sentence, one responsive answer, one relationship where the polished version of you can stand down for a moment. There may be people in your life who already like you. That is not nothing. Warmth matters. Being welcomed matters. The question is whether any of those warm places can become accurate places too. Not everywhere, not with everyone. Just somewhere, just with someone. One place where the version of you that is changing, grieving, hoping, doubting, rebuilding, or wondering is allowed to be part of the relationship. That is the movement from being liked to being known. Before you go, there is something free for you in the description. The laterbonds social audit is a research-backed worksheet that helps you see exactly which parts of your social life are working and which need rebuilding. It is free. You will also receive the connection letter, a short research digest every Saturday. One link covers both. It is in the description. Perhaps the best place to begin is with one simple question. Where in your life is there enough permission, enough real context, and enough responsive care for the fuller version of you to be known?